Listen, we all know March Madness is going on right now, and Trevor is just having a rough time of it over there. We're talking about Boise State. We're talking about Iowa State. It just has not been a good day for you. Good couple of days.
That game last night, Boise State should have won. They shouldn't have never. It should have been UCLA in the first 4 game, but it was a bad run by Derek Marks at the end of the game.
Yeah. Speaking of running bad and running good.
Hey, congratulations, Dayton, for winning a home game in the NCAA tournament. Don't get me started on that.
Fired up. I like it. UCLA apparently just won a game on a goaltend on an air ball by SMU, so that's that. The
team that should not have been in the NCAA. Congratulations!
I love March Madness. If you couldn't tell, we do have 10, 11 minutes left in the show. We have Stan Green with us here on BVarsity Live. Trevor, you went out to a baseball game yesterday that was did not turn into a competitive game. Centennial, which is right now, I think, pretty clearly the top-ranked team in town, and maybe even in the section. I think Buchanan, you probably have one, and then Centennial.
Yeah, anytime you got Tom Donald coaching a team, it's hard to say that they're not number one until they show you they're not number one.
You're such a Buchanan homer. But while it was not a great game, you did have a unbelievable story, one that Disney would have rejected. I mean, this is
unbelievable story.
It's I shouldn't say great. It's really a heartfelt story.
Okay. So after the game, I didn't even know about it. After the game, I go up and I start talking to Liberty's coach, Dan Durham.
Centennial.
What'd I say?
Liberty.
Sorry. Centennial's coach, Dan Durham, after the game. Obviously, our guy, Justin Roberts, is his assistant coach. I started talking to him. I was like, it's a fantastic game out of your number 2 starter. Throws a 4-hit shutout, strikes out 6, goes a full length 7 innings because it was a road game for Centennial. Fantastic game. Doesn't hit more than 75 miles an hour on the radar gun, but hits his points. Great defense behind him. Then I said, great game. And he goes, yeah, and it's been a tough week. And I said, I'm sorry, what happened? He goes, his grandfather passed away. His grandfather, Lauren Bristol, was fatally killed in a hit-and-run accident on Sunday. A gentleman that Richard Bean, our CEO, spoke about in his column in yesterday's paper. Then I went up to Ben. I was like, how much did that affect you?
He goes, universally loved man. I mean, this was a tragedy.
Yes, very much so.
In every sense of the word.
And then, young Ben Bristol says he was my biggest fan. He was at all of our games. After that last out, I can't even remember the out because all I could remember was looking for him in the stands, and he wasn't there. And so it's just one of those moments where I said, did you do this for him? And he goes, oh, yeah. He was with me every single, out of the game. And you could see him. He was coming off the field in like the 5th inning where he struck the guy out, and he just pumps his fists. John, we have some video highlights of this game. But, for the number 2 starter to come out the way, yes. And then to be able to come out and pitch the way he did. Number 1 starter, Andrew Hansen here, gets a 2-run home run here in the top of the 1st inning, gives Centennial an early lead. Hansen's, 5-0 with a
under 1 ERA.
Under 1 ERA, 0.94 ERA, going to Cal State next season. But, you see him here. There it is, bottom of the 2nd inning, struck out the last 2 batters. A lot of emotion on the field for Bristol there. And Centennial, who's now 10-1, their only loss was a 1-0 loss to Bullard earlier in the season, where they had their number 3 starter on the mound who went 6 innings and only gave up a run. So, this Centennial team is a very good team because they can get hits when they need it. I think they really warmed up yesterday. They play fantastic defense. You saw Hansen yesterday at shortstop. I mean, he made a move almost all the way past second base to get a grounder when Garces had runners at 2nd and 3rd to get the final out in the 1st inning. And I just looked at it. I was like, how did he get over? They got great left field play, and Brock, their catcher, might be the best catcher in the Central Section. I mean, he kept him in the game too. So, and Justin Roberts would say he probably calls the best game that he's ever seen at the high school level.
That'd be Brock Hallam.
Yep.
Stan, you were a highly successful athlete. Now you work with a lot of athletes. This story about Ben Bristol, I mean, we can talk about strikeouts and hits and innings. This is what it's all about. I mean, is the meaning of sports and lives.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was his grandfather until just now. It's an incredible story, and what a tremendous effort by that kid to even just be able to go through that.
His voice cracking the whole time I'm talking to him, and you can just tell that his grandpa was right there with him the whole way.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the hardest things about high school kids is they're right at that age when stuff starts happening in their lives. They're exposed to a lot of things, and that's to me the message that we try to send to our teams and our athletes. Is that there's a lot more bigger things in life than the game. You're learning how to be a better husband and a better wife in instances, and Man,
father, mother. Yeah, absolutely.
And those all three of those kids are great kids. I mean, Andrew Hansen, I've known him since he was a baby, and great kid. Probably the nicest kid you'd ever meet.
I think we had Andrew in here the week after he committed to CSUB, actually.
Yeah, him and his
baseball.
sister were in here.
Yeah.
Great, both of them.
A little transparency here. When I was 16, my father passed away in the middle of my junior year. And one of the saving graces for me was to be able to go back to school and have my teammates and my coaches kind of rally around me. We were kind of private about it within the family, but we let everybody kind of know. And it was just one of those things where, and that's the thing, is that you need that secondary family to kind of be there in the moment. Sports is always that moment that kind of takes you out of reality and allows you to be in your own moment and kind of reminds you of, the happiness that there is in life and the good moments, like having his grandpa,
something
in his
to rally around.
Exactly, something to rally around. Yeah.
Yeah, it's well said. I mean, it's that's really what it's all about. But that's the reason we like it is then we start talking about statistics and stuff. And it's Trevor. You said you had some baseball facts and figures for us.
Yeah, Jacob Sanchez out of Stockdale right now, batting .500. If you go outside, to the far ends of Kern County, Leonard Grimes out of Rosemont's batting .704 and has 9 doubles already. You look at Gabe Garcia out of BCHS, 2-2 right now, but he's got a 2 ERA, and he struck out 36 in 28 innings. And if you look at softball, I think you're 1, 2, 3 any way you want to put him in Kern County. Taft, just absolutely phenomenal. They're playing today, this weekend, up at the Washington Union tournament up in Fresno. Sophomore Olivia Ortleb's batting .583. Caitlin Emberson batting .667, and then Arizona Pilgrim on the mound, 6-1, .39 ERA, 64 Ks and 35 2/3 innings. Frontiers 15-1. Casey Olsen's batting .556 and a 7-1 with a .75 ERA. Samantha Escobar has 4 home runs and 19 RBIs. And then Centennial, I'll see them tomorrow. They're at home against Bakersfield. Madison Aron is batting .515, 7 home runs, 17 RBIs, and she's splitting time in the circle with Trish McNew. And so Centennial, other than
Valley title last year.
Centennial, other than that 4-game stretch where they lost to Buchanan and lost 3 straight to Fresno Central, I mean, that's a team that's 6-0 in those other games, and it'll be very interesting to see how far they can go. Taft, obviously the favorite in D1, and it'll be interesting to see where Frontier favors in there.
Yeah, Frontier very good in softball as well. What'll be really interesting with Centennial softball, the same situation last year. They had a couple of tough losses early in the year. Got sort of stuck with, I think it was the number 4 or 5 seed in the playoffs, even after going undefeated in the SWYL. And then they go up there, get on a tear. They take out the number 1 seed, which was Clovis, and then come back home because Buchanan, I want to say, was like the number 6 or 7 seed, came out of the bottom half of the bracket. So Centennial got them at home and blew them out in the championship game. And they brought back a large part of that team. Stan, have you been out to spring sports a lot yet? I mean, I know it's still pretty early on, that transition we all struggle with.
Yeah, my wife asked me that yesterday. She said, how come you're not going out to baseball? And I'm completely worn out right now from all the efforts I put into basketball.
Wrestling, basketball, soccer.
State wrestling. And so probably Friday I'll go to that Centennial BHS game because it sounds like Hanson might be on the mound. Know that family. So I'll probably go there. But, yeah, this is about time for me to kick it into high gear. I'll cruise through that and then get ready for peak.
Yeah, for those that want to see Andrew Hansen pitch this season, he is their Friday pitcher for Centennial. And then one last thing before we go, because I know we got about 3 minutes left. Gerald Perucci fired this week from Bakersfield Christian. Perucci said it was over some conversations he had during off-season workouts where he tried to keep some kids, and this is straight from Perucci. Bakersfield Christian doesn't have a comment on this other than the fact that the position is open. Perucci said he had some conversations with some guys trying to keep them accountable, and then from what he believes is that the parents of those kids went to the administration. The administration decided to, and once again, in Perucci's words, side with the parents rather than the coach. That was 29-11 for them, and took them to the 13 months ago, took them to the D4 state championship game. So hard run for Perucci. 3 years, 1 year as the offensive coordinator, after 3 years as the head coach over at East. Kind of hard run for him. It'll be interesting to see who Bakersfield Christian can find to replace him this late in the season.
Yeah, it's this interesting circumstance. Trevor, you're going to dig a little bit more into that story. Hopefully we'll have a Sunday story in Sunday's Californian about exactly what went on there and what led to that, and possibly maybe who the replacement could be. We're hearing some names. We're digging into that. Nothing concrete yet. But certainly it is a little bit late in the game. We've seen it done before, but Bakersfield Christian still open, and then North High still open among the current high school
Taft
districts.
also.
And Taft. Because you have that sort of, it's great that Centennial finds a job at a coach, but from your position, it's like, well, now that creates an opening somewhere else, and you have this musical chair situation going on.
Yeah, and luckily for me, I'm not involved in the hiring piece of that, but I do feel bad for our schools that lose a coach to something like that and move over to another school.
I will tell you, North obviously knows what it's doing because they've hired coaches in Chad Shelton and now Chad Shelton, Brett Shelton and Chad Brown, who have been hired by Stockdale and Centennial after just a couple of years at North. So obviously those guys up at North, Allen Paradise and Brian Hewins, know what they're doing as far as hiring, and I'm sure they'll get a good one as well for the Stars. So that's our show for today. Again, All-Star basketball beginning with the girls game at 4 o'clock at Centennial on Saturday. Stan Green, thanks for being with us.
Hey, thank you.
Big weekend, March Madness, NCAA Wrestling Championships going on, and a lot of good high school baseball, softball, and track and field action as well. For our producers, Chris McCullough and John Farron, for Trevor Horn, Stan Green, thanks again. I'm Zach Ewing. This has been BVarsity Live.
Bye-bye.